Hello and welcome to Kicking Tires. My name is Jimmy,
And I'm Justin.
and today is September 22nd, which means we got some Civic news, the Civic hatchback pricing, some RDX news, which really isn't news. Honda made a Passport or updates to the Passport. Ford made some updates to their Expedition, and of course, the brand new Toyota Tundra. But first, let's talk about the Civic hatchback. So for 2022, well, that is not the hatchback. There it is. Of course, the Civic hatchback is coming out. We know that. But there's some information that was released that I found quite interesting. So really what it came down to was the pricing. And the pricing I'm going to quote here is all Canadian pricing. So the base LX model with the manual transmission, because you can get it with the manual on the hatchbacks, actually you can get manual for every single trim, which is actually kind of cool. It's 28,000 Canadian dollars. If you opt the CVT, same price, 28,000 Canadian dollars. If you compare it to the sedan, it's $24,465, which means if you get a hatch, it's $3,500 more. And that goes with the exact same thing as you go down the lineup. So the LX, the Sport and Sport Touring in Canada here is $3,500 to $4,700 more.
Huge.
$4,700 more than the sedan.
I thought in the States it was less than $2,000 more.
It depends. Yeah, it depends on the trim. It was like $2,000 to $3,500, I think, more. And in the States, you can get an EXL, which we don't get here in Canada. So in the States, you get LX, Sport, EXL, then Sport Touring. Here we just get the LX Sport and Sport Touring. And for the first time in the hatch, you get the base 2-liter as well. So the LX is no longer the 1.5 turbo. You get the standard 2-liter that's on the sedan. So the K20 that makes 158 horsepower, I think it was. Yeah, it's a little bit of a downgrade compared to the previous years in terms of power wise, but I'm sure you're getting it elsewhere in terms of like just, the overall refinement.
And $4,000 basically to go up to the hatchback, which I think does not look as good as a sedan this time around. The previous generation, the 10th gen, I had it the other way around. I like the hatchback better.
Yeah.
But the new one, the sedans got smarter looking lines, I feel like.
Yeah, there's something about the coupe or hatch, I should really say, sorry, not the coupe. It doesn't work for me as much
It has an
now.
overbite. Like it's especially just the overall, the front and rear don't look matched up. If you look at
Yeah.
the sedan, the front and rear, that's one car. The hatchback looks like an afterthought on this one. It didn't look like that on the previous one. And even the all three iterations, the coupe, sedan, and the hatch of the 10th gen all looked like they were related. This one, the hatch looks slightly, I don't know. It just looks a little bit bizarre.
It's a little off. It's a little off. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of the rear end styling of the hatch, but I mean, I wasn't a big fan of the sedan when I first looked at it in pictures, and then I
Yeah.
saw it in real life. I was like, you know what? That's quite handsome.
I think it's the roof line. The roof line just it doesn't look as proportional because it's got a pretty long hood
Yeah.
and a very short rear compared to the sedan. So
Right.
yeah.
And how the A pillar, like I think the angle is quite aggressive. Like it's pretty straight, and then the roof line is relatively higher as well. And just like you said, the proportion just doesn't make it look the best. But basically $4,000 more. It's quite a bit more. I mean, you get more practicality out of the hatchback. We know that because hatches generally have bigger trunks than a sedan. And for the 10th gen, if anyone was looking at it, I would say buy the hatch. Don't even bother looking at the sedan because the hatch is overall a better car. It's more practical. And if you get the base model, you get that 1.5, which is a really sweet engine. But now it's like, you
Now
save
it's
quite
CRV money. That's the problem. Is
yeah.
this type of hatchback, you know, It's better than a traditional sedan, but you lose a bit of length, it looks like, from the rear, and it's still not going to be as practical as a traditional wagon. Or I mean, this is more of a sportback than a real hatch, right? This is not
Oh,
a Golf,
I
or even a Mazda 3 has a more traditional hatch shape than this. This one's got that turtleback.
hmm. I'm just taking a look at the pricing for the CRV. I didn't know you can get a two-wheel drive CRV still, but you can
Oh,
get
in
an
Canada?
yeah in Canada. For 2022, an LX two-wheel drive 2022 CRV is $30,000. So
Yeah, so
just a little
apples to
bit.
apples.
It's a
Yeah,
little bit more than the base Civic hatch and the CRV. You get that 1.5.
it's got the
Actually,
better engine. So
you
you
get the
have to compare
1.5.
it to, yeah, so you have to compare it
Yeah,
to
you do.
the middle
The
trim,
sport trim.
the sport trim hatch, which is then the same price. Um,
Basically,
yeah, yeah. If you factor in the CVT, oh, there's no charge for the CVT,
there's no
eh?
charge. Yeah.
So it's the same price as
Mhm.
a front wheel drive CRV, which is a weird choice in itself. But we're comparing front wheel drive,
Yeah.
1.5 to 1.5. The CRV is a lot more practical,
Oh
right?
yeah.
And
Oh
so
yeah.
this feels like product planning. Just the pricing just doesn't make sense.
No.
And then they're gonna go around and be like, people don't like the hatchback because you have a CRV that's a better vehicle. Because a new CRV is coming pretty soon. We can expect that soon, and I think it will look better than this.
Um,
Uh,
the thing is, okay, so I took a look at the 2021 model of the Civic hatchback. For the 2021 model, you only get two trims. You get the Sport and you get the Sport Touring. You can get it in manual and auto, but it's the same price for manual and auto. The Sport is 30,400 and Sport Touring is 33,900. So Sport Touring has definitely gone up in price. But the Sport yeah, Sport has also gone up in price, but you don't get the LX model, so you don't get that base for 2021 anyways.
but the base engine is very bad for basically $30,000. I
Yeah.
wouldn't recommend that car. Get the turbo.
Yeah, you can definitely do better. Yeah, it doesn't really make sense. I mean, we'll talk about this a little bit more later, but I think Honda, the entire lineup and just how they have cars right now doesn't really make a lot of sense.
I think costs have gone up, and so this, relatively speaking, just is not very competitive. Because, like, okay, Mazda 3 Sport GS trim, the middle one,
Middle trim, yep.
with an automatic is 27.5.
Yeah,
Like that is cheaper than the base model of this.
yeah,
And that has 186 horsepower, 2.5 liter
yeah.
engine. So to me, I would, you know, I'm as much of a Mazda hater as I am. Like, it's a nicer car. It looks better inside and out. Maybe you lose. I don't even think you lose that much in terms of trunk space. Back seat, for sure, the Civic
You
is better.
yeah, you lose a lot in
Um,
terms of the back seat.
the back seat, yeah, but it will be hard to pit this because the Mazda ultimately is still a more premium feeling car, despite being a few years older.
Yeah.
So
So if
yeah,
you are
pricing makes no
looking,
sense.
so if you're looking at a Civic hatchback, buy one now. Get a 2021. It looks better. You get a better base engine. It's going to be priced better,
Mhm.
and just yeah, just do that.
Well, no, the interior on a new one is a lot nicer. The
it
infotainment is a lot less buggy.
it is, but like I don't know.
No,
Okay.
wait for the CRV is really.
I, yeah, but then the price of that's gonna go up as well. I don't know.
I think
It's
the CRV they cannot go up that much because ultimately it's still got to be RAV4 price, right?
we thought about the same thing about the Civic hatch, but clearly,
Well, it's a less okay. So the thing about this compact hatchback market is Golf's out of the picture. Corolla doesn't sell any cars. Right? So it's really just this and the Mazda 3. And so it's not as competitive because Mazda does not have that weight to their name. It's a
No.
smaller dealer network,
Yeah.
but CRV has to compete with RAV4.
Hmm.
And so that's going to keep its price reasonable. They cannot be $4,000 more than a comparable RAV4.
Well, let's hope so. I mean, we'll
I
see
don't
when the
think
time comes.
I don't think they have a choice there. RAV4 is already a bad value for money in that market, like as far as MSRP goes. But Toyota and Honda always have to be very much on the same page as far as pricing goes. But because the Corolla is not really real competition, yeah,
they can price it a little higher. Yeah. No, I get
yeah.
what you mean.
No, and this interior is way nicer than the Corolla's interior too.
Oh, absolutely. Look, let's be honest. Corolla interior is pretty hot garbage.
I saw a TikTok this morning. It was this guy. Hi, I'm very lucky to drive a 2021 Corolla today. I'll talk about all the reasons you should pick this over the competition. Thank you. That's just the end of the video. It's like there's no reason.
Nothing.
I yeah. I have one friend that has one, and that's about it.
Isn't he trading it as well?
Oh no. Oh, sorry. That friend's getting rid of it. But I have another
Oh.
friend that got the base model,
Oh.
and he just tells me, "Oh, well, the lease is very cheap, the insurance is very cheap, the cost of ownership is very." He doesn't really care about what car he drives. And
Should have got a Prius then.
it's just extremely affordable for Prius lease payment being a $30,000 car versus a $20,000 car. There's a big.
Oh, I thought you can get a cheaper. No, I was thinking like the C. Can you still get the C?
Oh, the C is actually worse. Like
Oh.
the C is very overpriced right now. I don't think you can still get a C. Used C's they're asking 18-20 basically.
Oof.
Like high teens. Whereas you can get a base model Corolla for 20. And the base model Corolla will make it up hills, whereas the Prius C will not. I used to commute in a Prius C up to SFU, and it struggled up hills worse than my IQ, and definitely worse than a Corolla.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, they definitely don't make the C's anymore. The cheapest
it's dangerous
Prius...
on the highway. Honestly, the C, people ask me about it because it's a decent looking.
It's pretty good looking.
It's a practical car. It's amazing on gas, right? You'll get under 5 liters per 100K.
Yeah.
Without really trying, but it's dangerously slow, that car. That's my only. If you're only commuting in an urban environment, you never have to go on the highway. I think it's okay, but it feels very cheap inside, and it is very much an A to B city car.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know how we ended up and talking about the Prius C, but
yeah, but it is what it is. Let's move back because we got to talk about the RDX.
Back on topic. RDX.
So
gets a little facelift, very subtle facelift.
Okay, so Acura, as you may all know, is owned by Honda. They're same corporation, same people that gives you the very, very minimally updated TLX and all these bland cars. Well, not bland, they're okay, but
the new TLX is
nice. Pretty good. But okay, so this is the 2022 RDX. It was introduced back in 2019, so it's been 4 years. What have they updated? The front bumper, and that's really it visually anyways. I mean, there's software changes to the all-wheel drive system, transmission, all that good stuff, but like visually the only difference is the slit underneath the headlight is different than the old one, and it's more in line with the MDX. And that's really it. Like there's nothing on the side, there's nothing in the back, it's just the front bumper.
I think the wheels changed a little bit.
Yeah, but like wheels have to change, and wheels generally change every 2-3 years anyways. Like there's nothing that says this is a new vehicle other than potentially the paint job.
Yes, but I mean, this car has not been around that long, so they kind of.
It's his fourth
Uh,
year.
oh, true. I guess
It,
that is
it it's
halfway.
it's been long enough, but we just don't see enough on the road because it's
Yeah.
not popular.
No, it is popular.
It's not as popular as the previous generation.
Oh,
The
okay.
previous generation RDX was a really good
But
hit
this is
with
still the
Acura.
sales leader
It is. It's their sales
in.
leader.
No, this is the sales leader in its class.
But what's his class? This and
The
the NX?
NX and like
No
the
one's buying the
Infinity, the
NX.
really crappy Infinity.
Nice catch.
Lincoln's got a really crappy car. The
No one
Cadillac's got a really crappy car.
no one remembers Cadillac or Lincoln in terms of
Yeah,
this market space.
the Buick is very nice,
Yeah, once again, no one's gonna
but no one
remember.
buys it. But the RDX is the volume leader, despite. I think it's a good car.
It's a fine car, but they're not doing anything to it.
They
They
never
up
do. It's the same engine. It's well, no, now it's a K series engine, which K has been around for a while.
I just hope that they did something more to it.
I noticed
To
something about this car though. They added power folding mirrors to the advanced package now. I don't. Is it called the advanced package in Canada or is that just
I
the US?
think it's different.
Okay.
Yeah,
Power folding mirrors. It's a trend that we're seeing with some new cars. I don't know if it's because just
I
traffic is getting worse. Uh, because power folding mirrors in Asia and Europe is the norm. Like
yeah.
everyone has it, even on very small cars, like a Suzuki Jimny has power folding mirrors. But in North America, it's never been needed per se. Um, but now we're seeing it in our North American models.
Yeah, you can get it in the 2021, the elite
Yeah.
version. Not even the top trim, but second from the top, you can get power folding mirrors on the 2021. You don't have to wait
Uh,
for 2022 to get power folding mirrors.
maybe that's a US difference then, because I was
It
just
could be.
reading the US press release because maybe they didn't really feel the need to add it in. We have 3 new colors.
Yay.
Okay, these new colors are better than the orange, okay?
The
That one of my
orange
neighbors has.
orange is actually kind of cool. Okay, so the
You
orange
know,
and this
I see that car
blue.
every day. The orange PMC edition.
So the PMC is it's essentially where the NSX is made. So it's a special factory. And these RDXs and MDXs that are these PMC editions, they actually get, well, I remember their blurb saying that they were actually crafted by the same people that made the NSX, like handcrafted. I don't know how much of that is true. What
It's
they actually
probably
mean.
true because those guys have nothing to do. It's not like NSXs are flying off the shelves, right?
It's like, hey, we're bored. Send some cars over here.
Yeah,
Like, all right.
let's paint some cars for you. We sold 3 cars this month.
Yeah. Jesus. But the PMC is pretty cool. The blue looks pretty nice. It's the same blue that's in the NSX. I think it's called the Long Beach Blue Pearl, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
It's pretty cool in terms of the color itself. But that's really it. Oh,
there's a Phantom Violet Pearl.
you can get the
Uh,
A spec package on the Advance now. So like Advance is the top trim in the US. Getting the A spec kit makes a lot of sense because the A spec is like their sportier lineup, right? Comes with like dark tinted tail lights and blacked out bits and pieces. And interior is a little different. Generally, you get sportier
you get the
type
red
seat.
seats.
Yeah, and they always look good, but you can never get all the features. In
Yeah,
Canada, you can get the Platinum Elite, which is the top trim, and you can get it with the adjustable dampers. But you can't get it with the A spec, which doesn't
makes no
make sense.
sense.
So now, hopefully in Canada, they weren't very specific on this, but at least in the US, you can get the A spec trim, so you can make it look cooler with the advanced pack. That is pretty cool. But I think that's really
Nice.
all I got to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so the update is there to keep people interested in this car and to sell it basically. And because the competition is not that fierce, although the NX is coming,
That NX is going to be great.
The
It
NX
has
is
to be
gonna
good.
be pretty solid, and the NX has got the hybrid stuff, and
You got
I
four
think
different powertrains on the NX.
so. I feel like the RDX more appeals to that traditional North American buyer, whereas the NX is more for those that buy the Japanese brands. Um, I kind of feel that way with the current models as well. Oh, wireless Android Auto is coming. I don't know if the old one had that.
I think I had to plug it in before when I
Yeah,
got the
so
RDX,
wireless CarPlay and wireless Android Auto.
which makes sense because the MDX has it and it's the same infotainment, so they just
Mhm.
update it across the board.
Nice.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah, that's
really it.
about it.
That's really it. Let's move on to another Honda that Honda doesn't really care about.
Yeah, another well thought through update.
Uh,
Um, and another product planning swing and possibly a miss.
so okay, so the Passport was released, I think like 3 years ago now. It's been 3 or 4 years. I can't remember exactly how long. I took one brand new one to the Ridge Motorsport Parkway when we had a track day. I think that's about 3 years ago now. It's a fine car. The Passport is basically a Honda Pilot with the bum chopped off to make it from a 7-passenger or 8-passenger, I should say, to a five
A five
passenger.
passenger.
And that's really it. That's really the only difference between the two vehicles. The Passport also is raised about an inch compared to the Pilot, and it was standard with 20-inch wheels, which when that came out, like it just didn't really make sense. Like, why would you get 20-inch wheels on the vehicle that you're marketing as like the
The
off-road?
activity vehicle.
Yeah, like the off-road ready version.
Adventure.
It just
Yeah.
didn't make sense. For 2022, what Honda has done here is they given it a pig nose, which is lifted straight from the Ridgeline. So you get a Ridgeline front end. They say everything from A pillar forward is brand new. You kind of have to with the grill and everything. The hood is new because to incorporate the larger grill, it actually is raised quite a bit. And the fender is the same thing. It's just raised on the side. The overall shape is exactly the same as it been before. The only real difference here compared to the old model is, of course, other than the new front end and new rear bumper, is you get 18-inch wheels. That's it.
The new rear bumper I quite like. I think the front end, it's a needed update as well, because having it look identical to the Pilot was
It,
kind of defeat the purpose of
it was
this.
a little different than the Pilot, if I remember correctly. The
Yeah,
head,
very slightly. Yeah.
but it's so slim that most people won't notice. The
Yeah.
headlight was different, and the grill was different. Headlight and the
Yeah.
grill was different. That was it.
This is the worst selling vehicle in its segment. I just confirmed.
What segment?
They consider all. It's a mid size, so it's still actually in line with the Pilot.
Oh, okay.
Um, technically, but also like the Grand Cherokee. Grand Cherokee sells a lot still, despite being 10 years old.
Yeah.
Santa Fe is also in that class.
Wait, this is worse than the Ford Edge?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So okay, 2021 Q2 of 2021, the Edge sold 2,444 models. Um, Passport 699. So 1/4 of Edge sales. That's how
That's
bad this is. The only one worse is the Pathfinder, but the Pathfinder is on its way out. Uh,
mm,
the these are cars that you would never really consider. The Buick Enclave does better in the Passport. The Chevrolet Blazer does better in the Passport.
Blazer too.
Yeah, the Blazer does better. The Trailblazer does a lot better in a Passport. So the Bronco Sport is doing really well.
The
Wow.
Bronco Sport's really popular.
So yeah, the Passport is quite the flop because the sales figures are just aren't there. And I don't know. It's really hard to pick it over a Pilot because the price difference is like
It's
not.
minimal.
It's minimal, and you lose all that practicality.
Yeah.
And what do
And
you gain? You gain a spacer lift and a bit better breakover angle, which does not matter to
no.
anyone.
Breakover is the exact same. Wheelbase is the same.
Oh,
It's just departure angle is better.
I guess no. With the spacer lift, you're a little
Oh,
bit
with the spacer lift. Okay, I see. Yeah, that the minimal difference there.
the minimal difference there.
And
A little bit better off-road ability.
can we talk also about the tires? They're the same cheater tires that the Ridgeline has. And what I mean by cheater tires is they're regular passenger tires, but they look kind of rugged and off-road on the side because they're specially developed for the Ridgeline as well as the Passport to make it look more off-road ready, when in fact it really isn't.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing a few manufacturers do this. Yokohama does one, Falcon does them, and they all just have aggressive sidewall lugs. And technically, they're all terrains. I don't know if these have the whatchamacallit, the winter severe winter rating that some of these fake all-terrain tires have. Firestone Destination, I think this is, well, that's what was on the Ridgeline HPD, was the Firestone Destination, which I don't know why anyone would pick that tire, but if you Google a picture of the Firestone Destination LE, I think it's called, that's where you can see the more aggressive sidewall lugs. They don't go anywhere because it sticks out horizontally on the sidewall of the tire, but then you look at the tread and it's
There's
just flat. Like
regular passenger tire, yeah.
exactly. So they're not really gonna get you anywhere off road. It's just for the look. And you know what? That is kind of what the Passport is for.
Yeah.
To be fair. No difference in size, same diameter as before, which is like a 29.5-inch tire.
Um,
Um, yeah.
the what else was it? They said that it has a wider track for better stability. The wider track is just really due to the spacing of the wheels. That's really where your wider track comes in. I'm 100% sure there's like no suspension changes on this. There's no skid plates that were added. It just this whole TrailSport thing. It's just to give it a little bit more aggressive in
Well,
terms of marketing.
did you read the TrailSport press release though? It says the TrailSport will further enhance the off-road capability of our vehicles in the future. Just not in the present, maybe in the future, but not right now.
I I did read their blurb that said like so many years of experience, we've passed this on to the brand new TrailSport.
What experience?
Like their experience in making like ATVs and UTVs, like is that what they mean? I I don't have a problem with the Passport. I think it's a decent car for what you're getting. I don't think these updates are
Yeah.
good enough to make it call a TrailSport. I don't think a Passport's
I don't
the
think you
Honda
should be
S.
going on a road like this picture in a Passport because it does not have real skid plates. It has garnishes on the front and rear bumper painted silver to look like skid plates.
Yeah.
But looking at the rocks and the size of some of these holes in this picture, like you could do a lot of damage to your Passport if you actually took it to a road like this
Yeah.
in the press release.
I really like this
Uh,
press photo as well. There's a lot more dirt being spun up by that front wheel than the rear. Just to tell you, it's still a front wheel drive vehicle. Like even with that not super handling,
VTM 4.
IVTM4, yeah, it's the same guts as super handling all wheel drive. It's just the software is different, which is actually kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
But that dirt is fake.
that
I'm pretty sure. That dirt, the dirt being kicked up in their press photos, I'm pretty sure it's just photoshopped in because the car is too clean. You don't, when you take a car out on a press shoot, you don't want to get it too dirty because
no. So when you take it out of the press shoot, you bring a detailer with you with
with the
quick detailer.
microfiber and
Yeah, I've gone on a shoot, or not gone. I've seen a shoot, I should say, for an off-road vehicle. It was a Lexus GX, I think. They wanted this picture on the creek. They washed the entire, like spray washed it, and then very carefully parked it on the creek and then have the guy wipe it down again. It was quite intense. But let's move on, because Honda's probably not too happy with us bashing this as much as we already have.
Yeah, that's 3 Honda stories so far, and 3 not very promising updates to their
Yeah.
lineups. Speaking of like a promising update, though, I think the Ford Expedition, kind of a forgotten SUV, but again, it's a market leader.
What? Keep saying what market? Okay, there's this and the
so
Tahoe.
full-size SUVs are not that popular here in Vancouver, but the market, North America wise, there is a demand for them in sort of a full-size 3-row body on frame SUVs. And Jeep is coming to the market soon with their Wagoneer L or a Wagoneer.
Yep.
Grand Cherokee has their long wheelbase one.
Yeah,
as
there's
well
a Grand
coming.
Cherokee L, but that's just like it's still not body on frame, it's unibody for a Grand Cherokee L. So that's more towards the Explorer. The Expedition's more towards Wagoneer.
The Wagoneer. Okay.
And then the Grand Wagoneer is like Navigator, kind of.
Yeah, so Ford is comparing themselves to Jeep because technically not a luxury brand, although Jeep is going towards that direction, pretty obviously. But yeah, the Expedition gets a new update, facelift for 2022. 2 main new models, or new trim levels, I should say. The Timberline, which I am absolutely in love with. We saw this before on the Explorer, but I like it even more on the Expedition. Lots of green, which is one of my favorite colors on any car.
Yeah. Such a favorite that you forgot you had a car that was green.
Yeah. I love the green interior. I love the orange contrast stitching inside. But basically this Expedition Timberline, it's that kind of off-road package, off-roady, overlandy package. It's not, necessarily that rock crawling SUV that you like a Land Cruiser, but it is. I
mean,
it's a lot better than a Passport TrailSport. Like, okay, so what did we get here? We got 33-inch Goodyear Wrangler Territory AT tires, so legitimate all-terrain tire. This is not a poser tire. This is the same kind of tire they're putting on the TRX gets these, I think, and a lot of the hot new off-road specials come with this
ZR2 that we talked about last week has the same tire as well.
The ZR2 got mud terrains, if I remember correctly. This one's got the all-terrain version.
No,
but still the Goodyear territory.
Yep.
So it's promising. It's a real, like a genuine tire that's 33-inch, which is a pretty big tire on a full-size SUV. I don't think the Land Cruiser is up there. And what's kind of unique about this? Well, there's a few things. Higher ground clearance, so 10.6-inch ground clearance. I'm not sure what they're using to achieve that, aside from the bigger tires, but it's a 1-up versus the Wagoneer, which is 10.0 inches. The Wagoneers hasn't really hit the showroom floor yet. I don't believe they might have taken some pre-orders.
I think the Wagoneer is the first Jeep or recent Jeep not to have a trail rated badge. So I mean, who knows? In the future, they may get one, right?
But 10 inches ground clearance is not bad on a full size, regardless.
I mean,
but
they
have to
1 on the Passport, so
yeah, exactly. and the Passport does not have solid axles and whatnot. And it's got real skid plates, so heavy duty skid plates, supposedly lifted right off the Raptor, because I guess it has very similar front end design, the subframes. So heavy duty skid plates from the Raptor, so that's going to take a beating. If you were to take it on where that Passport's photos were taken, this should be a lot better. Trail turn assist, which we first saw it on the Bronco, which basically plays with the what the active differential to give you a little bit better maneuverability off road.
Is the trail turn assist the one that they actually break that wheel?
I don't know if they break it. Yeah, I think so. It's the torque vectoring basically. So it's just like
No,
brake torque vectoring, but
because
low speed.
I saw on the Bronco, the full size Bronco, there's a mode I
Yeah,
can't remember exactly what it's called, but with it enabled, it uses the mechanical brake, not like
yeah,
the differential. It uses a mechanical brake to break that wheel so that you can have a tighter steering angle.
yeah. So I think it would be the same compared to like their normal torque vector, the brake torque vectoring that you find,
Mm.
back on the ST models. This is the same idea, I guess, is
Yeah,
that if you
just
can
more
hold
aggressive.
that one wheel and at low speed, because that's
Yeah,
that's a high speed version. This is a low speed version,
right.
to give you that maneuver. Because typically with a limited slip or locking differential, you're gonna have a really hard time with a traditional four by four system. But yeah, pretty neat there. So yeah, legitimate off-road capability in this. It's not just like a styling package. It
Mhm.
looks good. Not to take credit away. It looks awesome. The Timberline.
I think it looks really cool. Like the Expedition, let's be honest, it's a forgotten SUV these days because there's not a lot of them on the road. At least here in Vancouver, there really isn't. I've seen a lot more the newer Tahoes and Suburbans more than the
Mhm.
Expedition because the Expedition, like, especially like the outside, I don't think it's too bad looking. I think the outside is fine, even the older, like the current generation, the 2020 ones. I think it's fine looking. It's just when you get inside, it's lifted right from an F-150, and nothing wrong with that. But in an SUV, you just want something a little bit more, I don't know, passenger friendly rather than more industrial looking. And for
Yeah.
2022, they definitely have updated that. It looks quite a bit better. There's two like infotainment options. There's a smaller screen, and you can get the bigger one that's lifted up, like from the Mach E. Both
Mm.
look actually like they fit inside the vehicle. So yeah, I definitely think it's a much better interior as well, which of course people care about these days.
Yeah, I think the Mach. Oh, I just had my first experience with the Mach E. Speaking of which, I had a customer bring one in the other day. That car drives very traditional.
Yeah.
I all the controls are where despite the giant tablet, which is
Hmm.
not hard to use really. It's just there's no hard buttons, but it's fairly intuitive, I think. The shifter is very normal. The start button is where you'd expect it to be. Everything is a little bit new school, but it's very much uh user friendly, I think. Like the door handle to
Yeah.
open the door is a little round button, but it
Yeah.
doesn't feel weird to use it.
That's good.
Um it's less weird than I think even like the Model 3's backwards hinge door handle
Mm.
thing. That's
You have to
for
shove a thumb
aerodynamics.
in there. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, just a brief segue into the Mach E, but no, back to the Expedition. I like what they've done with the interior. I think I don't know why the F-150 doesn't have this screen. It doesn't make sense.
Not yet,
Yeah.
but the Lightning has it.
Oh, true.
So the
Yeah.
Lightning has it. So, we might see it in the future. I think it's
Yeah.
going to be an upgrade that's going
If
to be
you
available.
go back to Expedition, the normal one. So this is the Timberline interior trim. It's got that silver trim.
Mhm.
Because they don't want to go too luxury with it. The weird spec I found, they had one with the interior trim where it looks like just recycled plastic,
Oh,
which I thought was kind of weird. Not this one, but
not the Platinum.
yeah, I think just the regular Expedition
Probably the Stealth.
has, yeah, maybe the stealth. But one, yeah, I think that one there on the top left. Um, it has like this weird texture to it.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't hate it, but I don't like it either.
Right.
The Stealth Edition. Okay, so the Stealth Edition is the other new model coming to the Expedition lineup, and this is to compete with the Chevy RST, which is that all blacked out, kind of hot roddy looking version of the Tahoe.
More
Um,
blacked out trucks.
yeah, blacked out truck. This one is not that blacked out to be fair, but it's got you know, it's got like a sportier suspension. What else is it? That's about
I'm,
it. It's just got
I,
like a sportier looking bumper. It's got kind of that ST look to it.
I'm sorry. Expedition, like the
It
weight
doesn't make
that it has,
sense.
and sporty. There's no, you can't put those two together.
I think it's for that street truck vibe, right? Like, so if you're going for that more urban, you know, soccer mom, kind of look like this car's not going, out of the city. It's kind of a cool look, and it kind of has like a police interceptor vibe to it too, because it's all
because it's
blacked
all
out.
blacked out. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not a bad trade. My choice would still be the Timberline. I think the Timberline looks way cooler. And both of them get the 3.5 twin turbo EcoBoost engine,
Mm,
which is a powerhouse. Like, okay, so the Chevy makes the Chevy RST, you can only get that with a 5.3. And the Wagoneer is still using the Hemi engine, which is quite dated now. So this is probably going to beat out those two in terms of city fuel economy and as far as outright power, 440 horsepower, 510 pounds-feet of torque. It's
pretty good.
it's impressive. I think it will carry 8 people easily and their luggage. And if you get it with the heavy-duty trailer tow package, it'll tow over 9,000 pounds, which I think that's kind of all you really need in a full-size SUV. You know,
Yeah,
um,
9,000's a lot.
it's a lot, and I think to me this makes more sense than a pickup truck. A lot of families are moving towards a full-size pickup truck. This, without the extra length of a pickup truck, a little bit better insulation than a pickup truck. I think with the off-road package, I think it has that same macho look and feel to it. I would definitely consider something like this over an F-150.
Mhm.
Just my 2 cents.
Yeah.
And it's got Pro Trailer Backup Assist 2.0. I have the 1.0 version, I guess, on my F-150. It's really hard to set up. I bought the Target stickers you have to stick on your trailer, and
Yeah.
I still couldn't get it programmed properly. So I've never used it, and I can't. I just don't back up my trailer, and I just don't get into that situation because if I do, I will get stuck, or I will have to unhitch and push it by hand.
Oh, jeez.
Um, so with the 2.0 version, it now uses the parking sensors rather than those tape-on targets.
Mm,
So that's kind of neat. Another
should
cool
be
thing with the Expedition is getting Ford Blue Cruise, which is the hands-free
okay.
driving. I don't think Chevy or GMC have it yet. Escalade has it,
Yep.
um,
The Super
but
Cruise.
I don't think their normal non-luxury brand SUVs get it. Now, in
Not yet.
terms of sales figures, the Expedition is just kind of in between the two GM twins, um, both in Canada and in the US. Now, in the US, the GMC is not as popular as the Tahoe, but in Canada, we like the Yukon better, I guess. A little bit better luxury features. I'm surprised the Expedition still sells that many because the new interior on both the Tahoe and the Yukon was a lot better than
Yeah.
the outgoing Expedition. And even on a new one, I'm not convinced that this is a better interior than the Yukon and the Tahoe. I think they really thought that car out.
Yeah.
That like it's not just the center console, right? It's the 3-row experience on the GM trucks is really good. Um, and what else is in the segment? We've got the Armada, got the Sequoia, and then the upcoming Grand Wagoneer. So that's the Sequoia is kind of an interesting one to note, right? Sequoia is a really forgotten SUV. Even when it first came out 13 years ago, it wasn't that popular. They added a TRD Pro trim to it. It looks pretty cool. But obviously,
The,
moving into our next story, the full size Toyota is getting a major refresh. No,
Yeah,
major redesign. Actually, I shouldn't say refresh.
complete redesign from bottom up. This is the 2022 Toyota Tundra. Um, Brand new vehicle after 14 years. You drop the V8, so you don't get that I-Force V8 anymore. It's a 3.5 liter twin turbo six, makes 389 horse, 479 pound-feet of torque, and with an optional I-Force Max, which is their hybrid,
Mm.
437 horsepower and 583 pound-feet of torque. That engine is actually quite interesting because that engine is going to be competing against F-150's Power Boost, which is their version of the hybrid. And Toyota has more power and torque than Ford. But it doesn't actually translate to more towing or payload, as it actually can't compete against the Americans.
Yeah.
It's better than the Nissan Titan, but you know whose isn't. Uh, the the Tundra just can't tow as much, and it can't haul as much as the big three. But I think it's still fine because 12,000 pound
Yeah.
towing is still a whole lot.
It just needs to meet the needs of your average half-ton buyer, right? Because if you're towing over 10,000 pounds on a regular basis, you should not be looking at half-ton
Yeah.
regardless. Even though some will say 12,000, 13,000. If you're towing that much, just get a heavy duty. Um, if you really need that kind of towing capacity, if that's going to be a deal breaker for you.
Mhm.
But earlier reports were that the Tundra had a really low payload rating, like comparable to the mid-size, like the Ford Ranger. But
Yeah, I
Toyota's
saw
kind
that.
of come out and corrected that, and they're like,
It's
no,
the
it's
wrong sticker or whatever. Yeah, I
yeah,
saw that.
yeah. So the GVRW
W. Yeah.
sticker, that one was wrong.
Um,
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about exterior styling first.
Do you want truck with your grill?
It's okay. Toyota's famous for putting enormous grills on the cars. If we take a look at the Avalon TRD, that thing it's all grill on the front.
The
I mean,
Sienna is all grill.
people complain about BMW, but Toyota has it much worse. I honestly think Toyota is the worst when it comes to grill.
Ironically, the only BMW without a giant grill and the only Toyota without a giant grill is the Supra.
It's a Supra and Z4.
Exactly. The 4 Series has a giant grill. Every X model has a giant grill. The 4Runner has a giant grill.
But the giant grill does differ depending on which model you
Yes.
choose. Because there's the SR5, there's the Limited, there's the TRD Pro, the 1971, I think it was. They all differ in terms of what that grill looks like.
I don't think it's 1971.
It's 19 something. I can't remember what year it was. I can't pull that up right now, but it's 19 something. I can't remember. Anyways, it's I'm just throwing numbers out there. The grill does change. If you get a TRD Pro, you get a light bar built in, but the light bar doesn't have a cover, which means that you're going to get hassled by cops constantly. Because cops are just going to look at that light bar and be like, "Hey, you got a light bar, you got no cover on it. Here's a ticket." Like it's gonna happen. The TRD Pro is pretty unique. And a lot of the plastic, it has this like camo effect on it. You see that on like a lot of the different plastics, like on the fender flares. You also see that on the interior as well.
It's kind of got that forged carbon look.
Sure, let's call it that.
It's kind of got that Expedition art or Stealth Edition interior plastic trim look.
It kind of has that look. It's sort of weird. The overall vibe of the vehicle is very truck-like. Like it's very upright. All the parts of it reminds me a little bit of like the Silverado in a way, which I don't think it's a bad thing. The taillights, I'm not in love
It's
with yet.
very GMC AT4. Okay, from the rear 3/4, I think that C shape that was really on the GM trucks, and I think the jagged lines are very GM.
Mhm.
It doesn't the rear little spoiler thingamajig on the tailgate looks odd too.
Yeah, why is that black? And
This thing is overstyled.
why is the bumper black, but the corner of the bumper isn't?
Yeah, the part that you'll actually like scratch up,
Yeah,
well, let's paint that. But then
it's a little weird. And the TRD Pro gets a humongous TRD Pro stamping on the tailgate. You don't get TRD Pro on the sides like the Foreigner, the Tacoma, but it gets enormous TRD Pro stamping on the tailgate. So you lose Tundra, you get TRD Pro on the back, just to show what others, to show to others exactly what you bought. You still get the roll down rear window. That is still available. Great feature. Do love that. It's kind of controversial in terms of the looks. I don't mind it too much, but you got to see it in real life before I make my final judgments.
I don't like the front end of this truck. I think the old one was a good looking truck, and it's a one that aged very gracefully. Given the facelifts that it needed a facelift at some point, and they gave it a pretty distinct facelift that just made it look more modern. This one, it's just a little bit too bizarre, but I think they are going for that more out of the box buyer that's not going straight to the big three, right? But it is a peculiar looking truck.
Yeah.
You either love it or you hate it.
What's nice is the inside. We can all agree that it's definitely quite a bit better than the outgoing truck for sure.
Yeah,
there's still
built
some
for this decade.
Yeah, there's still some like older Toyota bits and pieces, like the steering wheel, the buttons on the left. That's very typical Toyota stuff. But the center stack is quite different, and you get a standard 14-inch infotainment unit here. It looks great. It definitely looks great. And there's a dedicated volume button that I can see right below. There's a whole row of buttons for your climate control and other stuff. Like, it's a functional interior, but doesn't have like the F-150 gimmicks. Like, it doesn't look like you can fold that shifter down. You can't have a workbench in the center. It's missing a few of those items.
It's a bit more of a passenger car / SUV experience than your traditional truck buyer. They go in and they give you all these features. Whenever you see a new Ram or the F-150, I think this generation F-150, particularly the interior gadgets was kind of a big thing for it, like the fold down shifter and stuff. They didn't update the exterior that much,
No.
I feel like, and even the interior look was very similar, but they added kind of more thoughtful features. This one is very much like if you didn't really want a truck, but you're used to like an SUV, I feel like you might like this. Yeah. The controls are all tiny too.
The TRD Pro is quite red.
Oh, yeah.
The dash is very red. The door cards have red. The seats are all red. You have to be a particular type of person to love this interior.
Yeah, you've got those PC principal sunglasses, the tinted, the guy from South Park, those Oakleys. Like, you're that guy if you like the TRD Pro trim.
You get the tow haul mode. You get I think you get crawl control as well. Yeah, you get crawl control. There is a rear diff lock on certain models, and there's a button on the dash to activate that rather than by the switchable mode. Yeah, and of course on the Foreigner on the sunroof, that's a little weird. On different models, you can get adaptive dampers, so electronically controlled adaptive dampers. I'm thinking that's probably on the Platinum because you want a softer ride, maybe a little bit more sportier ride, probably on the Platinum trim. On the TRD Pro, I don't think you'll have that because it looks like there's Fox shocks. And just from what I can see in the pictures, I don't think they're electronically controlled, but we can, it's hard to say. There's also going to be air shocks for the rear. So that way you can have a more level ride if you're going to be, hulling and towing and all that good stuff. For the hybrid model, there's no pictures of it, but they say the battery is underneath the rear seats.
Hmm.
So I don't necessarily know if it's within the cab or underneath within the chassis. Don't know that just yet. There's no detailed information on that. But that's interesting. I mean, most Toyota hybrid batteries are underneath the rear seats
Second row
anyways,
bench, yeah.
but this is the only one that's body on frame. So we'll have to wait and see. I don't know what this photo is. It almost looks like there's a release for the tailgate at
Oh,
the
yes,
tail
there
light.
is. Yes, I saw it on one of these videos.
Oh, okay.
So that's how you open the tailgate.
Not
From
the only way though, right?
not the only way. No.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Why?
So it's like if you're carrying groceries, you don't want to like, I don't know. This is easier. Just elbow it,
Is
perhaps.
2 inches higher on the tailgate that much harder than a button that's on the side?
I
I don't see the need for this, but I think, like a lot of things, we got to see it in real life before we can really fully judge it. But I don't see the usefulness here.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary, and I don't know if that gets replaced with your tail light, like which is one of the most frequently broken pieces,
Items on the
or
truck.
yeah, that you'll need to replace because of legal concerns. Um, I don't know. This truck, okay, when I first saw it, I definitely liked it.
Hmm.
And then the more I see it and the more I see the other trims, I just like it looks just it's very hard to commit to this look, I feel like.
Yeah.
They it does I see the Toyota elements.
Yeah.
Um and they've taken that grille design that we've seen on the Forerunner, and they kind of just hit expand on it. And I just it's just really bizarre, and it's just I thought the point was to make this truck more mainstream and take some of that market share that the big three has always held on to.
Mhm.
But when I see this truck, it's just a bit too polarizing. The big three know what they're doing. Ram knows what they're doing. Even the new Silverado, they know what they're doing. Um, Ford, obviously number one, um, definitely know what they're doing, and they always go with a handsome but restrained design.
Yeah.
Even when you go with the all-out models, the Raptors, the TRXs, they're not that polarizing. Like they're generally like a very pleasant to look at vehicle. And this just, I think it's very overstyled. Like I think it's a bit much. I don't know if this is going to help its cause.
I think the styling, the worst part about it is it won't last the 15 years.
Yeah, exactly. But maybe they'll I don't know. It's Toyota. They don't really
They don't
innovate.
refresh their cars.
Yeah,
Also, the TRD Pro tires, they're remarkably small.
the opening is remarkably large, but
Yeah.
they look like they're 33s, which
It's
is the
just
same. When you see the 33s on the Expedition, you're like, damn, that looks
yeah.
good. And you see it on this, especially with the black fender flares, it just makes it look even smaller.
Yeah.
They look like the ground clearance looks very pathetic,
Yeah.
especially in this picture.
The side profile here with the side steps as well. It doesn't look like
Yeah,
it's
the
a
breakover
TRD
looks
Pro.
looks terrible.
Yeah.
So who knows? The more I see it, the less faith I have in this truck, to be honest.
So the thing I want to keep in mind is the Tacoma is going to get some of this. If this was scaled down, I
Hmm.
actually wouldn't mind it because
Yes,
like I think the Tacoma being styling like taking styling elements from this, I think I wouldn't mind it because it's not this massive truck. Being smaller and polarizing, I think it's a good thing. Like the Bronco
it's fun.
Sport,
Yeah,
yeah, it's cute, it's fun, it's just different. But being something so large and so in your face, I don't know.
Yeah, there's a level of commitment that comes with driving a full size pickup truck crew cab that you want that to be a very dependable look.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's definitely different.
We'll see
Uh,
how it does.
we'll see how it does. Let's go on to the last thing here, which is the review that got posted this week. Is the GLB 35. So Mercedes makes literally every single SUV you can think of. They have from A to like G in terms of SUVs, and the GLB is the second in line in terms of size, but the 35 is like the one up. It's a sportier performance type SUV, but it's not really an SUV. It's more like a hot hatch because it doesn't even have tinted windows in the rear because it's not classified as an SUV. Not really, anyways. I like this car, but the biggest thing with it is like a lot of Mercedes price. Oh, oh, moving the
Find that note.
moving all the wrong things here. Let me pull this up here. The GLB price point, the one as tested here, guess how much it is?
$70,000.
Oh, okay. Pretty on point. 72,000. You can get more options on top of the what I had here to 78,000. 78. It's quite a bit.
It is. It is. But it's kind of that all rounder car. Like look at those brakes. Like they're pretty sweet.
The brakes are
Um,
okay. You can get better brakes
hmm,
that I didn't get in this. You can get like big 4-piston brakes up front, but they didn't spec it out for this one. It's quite a bit of money. It's 300 horsepower, 295 pound-feet of torque, which is sufficient, I think, for a vehicle of this size. You don't need the 45. The 45's next week, and that was insane. Because with this, it's like a 5-second sprint from 0 to 60, and 5 seconds is more than quick enough. And with the GLB, what I loved about it is because it shaped like a GLS, it's very practical on the inside as well.
mhm.
There's tons of space. There's plenty of headroom, legroom.
I
It's a
know.
comfortable vehicle.
What I love about it is how low it is, but also how tall it is.
Yeah.
Like it's so great. Like that's amazing for practicality. And yeah, this body style has is quite charming, and the AMG version looks really good.
It
I
does.
think
It does make it look a little bit better. I,
it's just
I
charming. Like it's not handsome. Like it's not sexy, but there is an appeal to it.
yeah,
Um, kind of in a bulldoggy kind of way.
yeah,
Yeah.
I can see that. It's a bread box type design, right? And I really like the tail lights about it.
Mhm.
It has a stormtrooper look to me.
You know what's weird? They don't tint the windows on this,
I literally just said that like a minute ago.
but it looks really awkward in this angle.
They don't tint the
It's-
windows because they can't, because it's not classified as such because of the ride height.
But can you not tint the
You
windows?
can tint them, but transport, I think it was Transport Canada says you can't tint them, but
Oh.
you can't tint them. Go to overdrive for your window tinting
Yeah,
needs.
yeah, because the UX also does not have tint,
Yep,
but the RAV4 does, and it's
yep.
like, yeah.
It's because of the ride height. The
Oh,
GLB 250 that had tinted windows. GLB 35 does not.
that is so bizarre.
Yeah, Transport Canada said this is a passenger vehicle, not a something
Truck.
else. Yeah, it's different classification, and because of that, it can't have tinted windows from factory.
But can you get monoblocks from factory?
No, no monoblocks. Also a good thing.
Yeah,
These are the optional wheels that's on it, the multi-spoke 21s. These are $1,200, so not too much.
that's not bad for
No,
21s. Yeah.
yeah, but
And they look awesome because they fill out the wheel wells very nicely, unlike the Tundra. Uh, like, I always
absolutely.
have to roast the previous car. Um, yeah, that's a good size trunk, and it's a small car too.
Yeah.
Very
Oh,
easy to park.
I'm sure you know, but the GLB, you can get a 7-passenger variant of it as well.
I don't think you want that.
No, you don't want it, but you can. I mean, if you're
Yeah.
really short, you can fit everyone in there, but like,
So, the GLB smaller than a CX-5 on the outside, but back seat. Look at that back seat. Like that's a solid amount of space.
yeah, it's a very practical vehicle with plenty of headroom, plenty of legroom.
It's very
dev-
fast.
It's quick. It's developed well. I like it, but it's $70,000.
It costs 2 CX-5s.
It does cost 2 CX-5s. Okay, so I just got to mention the base model is 58 or 57, somewhere around there.
Okay.
So like the base GLB 35 is not that bad, but
very reasonable. But
you're not walking out there with a base Mercedes because
Right.
you will want the premium package.
you need comfort access or whatever it's called.
Yeah, that's part of the premium package. You need that.
Somehow it's not included, like on a on AMG.
360 camera, $650. The blue that's in here, $890. The AMG driver's package, $2,000. Oh, you want leather? That's $2,000. Like it adds up. It adds up quick. But that's pretty standard with most Mercedes. Nothing new there. Actually, the interior, because you said your mom has a CLA, right? How does she like it still?
Oh, she loves it.
Still? Okay. Yeah. All right. I didn't know people.
She has the white interior too, like the white inserts. She doesn't like the white interior that much.
I was just thinking like more of the infotainment. Like, is she still okay with it? Because like I just don't know if people are loving the trackpad.
Oh, well, she doesn't use it. Like as long as she can answer her phone, and as long as she can, she doesn't use the navigation at all. As long as the backup camera works, as long as it can tune into AM radio, like
that's all she needs.
The navigation on the MBUX I find is pretty unusable. But there's CarPlay.
Yeah, I think in most built-in navigation, I give up on them.
The BMW one is great.
I try it with the voice because chances is you're not stand still, entering the information. I use it with the voice. Most vehicles can't navigate to where I want to go without me telling it like 5-6 times. Yeah.
But
I think that's really it for this week. Anything else you want to add?